Hello everyone, welcome back to MorningLine. We are talking about your pet. And any question you may have, you can ask the veterinarian. Allison Fields is here. Very happy to have you here.
Thanks.
And some good calls so far this morning.
Absolutely.
Some very good calls. We have cats and dog calls. I want to talk about the issue of arthritis.
Okay.
That covers
cats and dogs.
Both, really.
Sure. We see it more in dogs. We see it more in large breed dogs. We see it more in large breed overweight dogs. So we can even get more specific. So the more weight that your dogs are carrying around, the harder it is on their joints. Typically when we see it in small breed dogs, like your little Min Pins and your Yorkies, they're carrying a whole lot more weight than they should, and those little joints are just not designed for it. So one thing you need to know is that we can prevent arthritis in a lot of animals by keeping them trim. We can also save you a lot of money because there are a lot of diseases and problems that happen in overweight dogs that don't happen in thin dogs, such as diabetes, arthritis, having to have knees replaced because they have had problems with their knees. So there's a lot of things that we can prevent by keeping them trim. So, but if we do have arthritis, and sometimes we have arthritis just from genetic predisposition. German Shepherds are a great one to use as an example. You know how German Shepherds have that angulation?
Right.
They're not straight across like most dogs. They're kind of dropped in the back end. How that started, I'm really not sure. A long time ago, and that was just the cool thing to do at the time. I don't know. But now all of our German Shepherds have this angulation, which has actually, over time, changed the shape of their hips, their hip sockets and their femurs, which allow for more arthritis. So there's a lot of things that your veterinarian can talk to you about, whether it be a joint supplement that we can start on when we're younger and not necessarily having any arthritis problems yet, to help make more joint fluid, which allows cushioning in there and can kind of push off when we get arthritis, push it back in time. And then there's a lot of wonderful drugs for arthritis in dogs. Now, some things you need to know. Ibuprofen, never, don't do it. It's a bad thing. Dogs can't take it. We take it, and they can't metabolize it. And so we will see dogs occasionally whose liver and or kidneys have just been shot from
Because someone's giving them some ibuprofen.
Correct.
And
I mean,
well-intentioned, obviously.
Well-intentioned, we think, well, it helps us. Why would it help them? But just like dogs can't have chocolate.
Right.
You know, large quantities of chocolate can kill a dog because they don't have the enzymes to break that chocolate down to excrete it, and it becomes toxic. Same thing with ibuprofen and other human drugs. You should always talk to your vet before you give human drugs to your dog. But there are drugs in the ibuprofen family. Carprofen, sounds kind of like it, but it's just for dogs. And we can't take it. It hurts us. So don't take your dog's medicine.
So this is some important advice on both sides.
This is very important on both sides.
Don't take your dog's medicine.
Right. Don't take your dog's medicine. Your dog can't take yours. It's all the way across the board. Aspirin is okay. It's not going to give them the coverage that we can provide with some prescription medication, but aspirin, like Bayer or Bufferin, in the appropriate dose, please talk to your vet about that, can be helpful for some arthritis. We usually find that if people are using aspirin, at some point it's really not cutting it anymore, and then we need to go to the other one. It is very important that if you go to the vet about arthritis and you have been giving aspirin or ibuprofen or any kind of medication, that you tell your vet, because if we don't know about it, we may prescribe something for you to start that day, and you gave your dog something else the day before, and those two things that close together can cause some serious problems. So tell us what you've been giving. We're not going to yell at you. We may say don't do it again, but make sure we know, because there are drugs that can't be given very close together without some big consequences, and it's much more helpful for us to know that on the front end than to then try to fix the consequences afterwards.
Yeah, all right, so that's interesting stuff, and I think there's a lot to talk about there, but let's go to Janet here.
Sure.
Hello, Janet. What's on your mind?
I have a senior dog. She's 16 years old. And recently she's got a problem with a lot of mucus coming from her nose. And she's sneezing a lot.
Have you been to see the vet?
Not as of yet. She's hard to get in the car now because she's so old and she's got arthritis.
Is she on any arthritis medicine?
Yes, she does. I have it from the vet, yeah.
Perfect. Well, I think that she needs to go see the vet. If you can't get her in the car to go see the vet, there are some mobile veterinarians that do work the Nashville area, that maybe you could get them to come to the house. Typically in a 16-year-old dog, this could be something as easy as an upper respiratory, a cold kind of thing, or she could have inhaled a blade of grass and have something stuck in her nose. All the way to, in a 16-year-old dog, it is possible that there's some kind of tumor in her nose. I don't know. I haven't seen her. We haven't done x-rays or anything like that, but I definitely would get her in to see your vet and see if they can't figure out what's going on.
So that's one of those things, yeah, it's just good to go and have someone look.
Especially in a 16-year-old dog. She's old. She needs as much help as she can get, and she's got her on good arthritis medicine, it sounds like. But I would try to get her in the car and get her to see your vet. And if you can't do that, you could call one of the mobile veterinarians. Mobile veterinarians are great for cases like this. They are more expensive because they come to you, but they are wonderful to have in the area.
All right, Janet, thank you for the call. Good luck. Let's go to Linda. Hello, Linda.
Yes, I have a small little dog, well, medium small, and she loves to lick textiles, whether it be carpet or fabric, and sometimes she goes crazy with it. And then she gets sick, and it looks like she has thrown up a sock. Why does she do this?
Yeah, that's a great question.
That is a good question.
I have a cat at home that does the same thing, and I have no clue. So there are some animals that have these, they're almost like an OCD compulsion. And a lot of people will start with the food. Are they getting everything they need in the food? Is there anything missing? If you're feeding a commercial food, your dog's getting everything she needs. The commercial foods in this country are really good. They have all the minerals and trace elements and everything that dogs and cats need. So I doubt that that's the problem, unless you're doing a homemade diet. If you're doing a homemade diet, you may want to switch that to a commercial food and see if it gets better. The only other reason is going to be a behavioral thing, and if I had more time in my world, I'd probably put my cat on some drugs to try to stop it with him, but so far he's not throwing up socks, so I'm okay. But you might want to talk to your vet about some medication for compulsive behaviors that may help it. If it's that bothersome, and it sounds like it could start to be a problem with her digestive tract.
Yeah, that could be really, I would think, dangerous. I mean,
right. Well,
who knows what's in there, the chemicals and all that.
Well,
you wouldn't want that.
Yeah, and usually they're licking it as opposed to ingesting it, but it sounds like she's getting fibers, and she's getting a carpet ball instead of a hairball.
Oh, right.
So, I don't know the exact answer to that, other than more than likely it is some kind of compulsive behavior.
And it's not completely uncommon. It's something you've heard of. Certainly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good luck with that. Thank you for that call. Let's go to Donna. Hello, Donna.
Hello.
Go right ahead. Are you there,
What's
Donna?
your question?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, excuse me. I've got bronchitis, so deal with me, please. I have a Bichon Frise. She is 6 years old. Why am I having a hard time finding a male Bichon purebred to breed her with? She right now is in estrus and is ready to breed. We would like to have one litter and then have her spayed.
Well, there's a lot that you can talk about that, because of course my first question is, why are you breeding her? Because there are a lot of dogs out there that need to be bred. The second thing is that unless you are in the show world and you're showing your dog competitively, you probably aren't going to find a male dog to breed to. Most of the pet Bichons have been neutered, and the ones that you would want to breed your dog to are the ones that have good conformation and have won some shows. The problem is that the ones that have good conversation is always helpful too.
It's a good conversation.
Right?
That's great.
Right. The ones that have good conformation and have won these shows, unfortunately, the owners of those dogs are not going to breed to a dog who is not have the same background. They're only going to want to breed that dog to a dog who has been in the show ring and has one thing, so you're going to be guaranteed to get some good puppies who can then be sold for show purposes. So that's a really kind of big conundrum, and I don't know that you're going to find one. I've known people in this situation, and the hard part is that, you know, when you do find a dog that you would breed to your dog, they don't want to breed to your dog. Not because your dog's not cute and a great conversationalist, but because they don't have the ribbons tacked on behind them, and they haven't proved their worth in the show ring. So that being said, your dog's already 6 years old. She's probably gone through 6 heat cycles, and every heat cycle that your dog goes through, you increase her chances for breast cancer, ovarian cancer, uterine cancer, and pyometra. So you may just want to cut your losses and go ahead and get her spayed. If you've spent 6 years looking for a boy and you haven't found one, I don't think you're going to find one in the next 2 or 3.
That's a very interesting question, one I hadn't thought about. But it's not like, so you don't just put an ad in the paper or something, or up on Craigslist. That doesn't happen.
Single wanted. Yeah, you could try that.
Like
in the back of the Nashville scene and see what you get.
But it's a pretty complicated.
Yeah, it is much more complicated than people think. You know, people who are breeding these dogs want to make sure that what they are breeding is going to be a good dog. Not that your dog is not good. I am not saying that. But it's all about
papers and pedigree and all this.
Yes, that's what it is. So if you haven't found one now, I would cut your losses, and for your dog's health, I'd go ahead and get her spayed.
Well, Donna, thank you for that question. Very interesting question. Now,
good question.
As far as the arthritis, one of the big issues is obesity, overweight.
Right.
That's a big issue that we're seeing, isn't it?
It is a big issue, and we really need to try to work on it. I mean, they don't have opposable thumbs. They can't feed themselves. So it's our fault if our animals are overweight. I mean, we're the ones that are filling up the bowl. Now, to be fair, a lot of the pet foods on the back, they give you a range of how much your dog or cat should eat. Those ranges are meant for animals. They have to cover everybody. So it's from couch potatoes to working dogs who are out running their little butts off all day long. If you feed your couch potato the higher end of the food, he's going to be a fat couch potato. If you feed your working dog the lower end of it, he's going to be a really skinny working dog. And so you really have to use your judgment. And in my experience, the back of the bag always overfeeds, because the bag doesn't want to get sued for starving a dog.
Right. Well, they probably want to sell, I mean, they may want to sell more food.
Of course, I was looking at the good side. Yes,
I was more cynical.
True, too. Right, Mr. Cynical here. Yes, that's a great point. So, you know, you need to start with the guide on the back, but then you need to talk to your vet and ask, is my dog overweight? You know, we tell people all day long their dogs are overweight, and people sometimes are receptive to that, and some people yell at us because we say their dog's overweight. And so you may be the appointment after the person that just yelled at me because I said their dog needed to lose some weight, and they don't think so, and now they're mad at me. And so I'm not going to tell you because I don't want to be yelled at again. So it happens. So ask, do you think my dog's overweight? Do you think we need to lose some weight? How can we best do that? A lot of times it's just a matter of actually measuring the food. I can't tell you how many people I talk to, they're like, well, I just fill her bowl up. Well, if you fill her bowl up every day and you're not measuring, it's probably not the same. And if you and your husband or your child or your uncle or whatever take turns feeding the dog, how do you know that what you're feeding is the same as what they're feeding? So a lot of times just getting a measuring cup and talking about this is how much we're going to feed, draw a line with a Sharpie on it, and have a family meeting. It takes 2 minutes. This is how much we feed the dog, period. A lot of people fall into the trap of, well, he wanted a treat, and those little brown eyes, they're so cute. I understand. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 8 little eyes that stare at me at home. But if you fall into the trap of, oh, well, he wants another treat, and you're giving too many treats, one thing that you can do is in the morning you get up and you pull out whatever your vet said. He can have 3 milk bones a day, the little ones. You pull those 3 out, you put them on a saucer, and you put them on your counter, unless you have a Great Dane. And then you put them in the cabinet, not on the counter. But you can break those little treats up into 8 pieces each. So now you have 24 pieces of treat. It's the same amount of calories, but your dog really and truly doesn't know whether you gave him a treat this big or a treat this big. He's just happy he got something from you and it tasted good. You're happy because you gave him something. It's a win-win 24 times in the day for the same amount of calories that you of 3 milk bones. So do that. That's really going to help as well. And you have a little ration over here in the corner. So when you walk by at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and there's only 2 pieces left, oh, I better save those for dinner time. So you can kind of ration yourself into giving your dog treats. So there's lots of little tricks like that that you can do to really help.
It's interesting you said, and I guess it makes sense, they don't have thumbs, they're not feeding themselves.
Correct.
So if they're overweight,
it's our fault.
it's our fault. So that's
right.
You know, people I guess need to hear that.
Yes.
And now I remember, and I'm not a pet expert, but goldfish, supposedly you can overfeed goldfish. They don't know when to stop eating,
Correct.
and they will eat until they die.
Yes. They used to tell me that people would tell me mine would explode, I think, just to make me stop.
Which is
feeding the
scary.
goldfish. Right.
So, all right, so a dog or a cat, would they ever just stop eating if they're full? Or they're going to eat the
Some
whole
do,
thing?
and some don't. There are some dogs out there that I see that are perfect weight, and the owner free feeds them, meaning they just keep food in their bowl, and that dog will only eat what it needs, when it needs it, and doesn't eat more than that. There are other dogs that if you leave the bag of food out, will eat until they're sick.
Right.
More food, more food, more food. So yeah, every dog is different, just like people. You know, you could set a big chocolate cake right here and I wouldn't touch it because I don't really care for chocolate, but you might be like, oh, I'm gonna eat
I would eat the whole cake.
Right. Because
And
it's
I would
yummy.
even be full. Well,
Right.
so now it's clear to me.
Right.
The chocolate cake. Okay. All right, we're going to take a break. If you want to call, there's the number, 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. Take a break. We'll be back right after this.